Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be discussing how best to defeat a 6.42 quest, which are the easiest path and also which are the best counters for each and every single one of the paths. So we will break these down as we always do. Before we get to it, it's important to note that just like all the other 6.4 quests, each quest has 6 paths. At the end of each path there is a mini boss that has amped up health and attack stats, and obviously then we do have a boss as well. So we're going to start with the easier path, and two of the easier paths here are the ones on the bottom here with long distance relationship, aggression, precision, and Godslayer. So path themselves, this combination of the nodes isn't really all that particularly tricky. Aggression, precision isn't one of the more dangerous kind of like or hard to play around aggression nodes, because so long as you don't get hit, it doesn't really matter how those precision counters are active, and the rest of the nodes are just kind of annoyances, not roadblocks. So as long as you are able to deal with the domino at the beginning of the path, the rest of the fights are going to be relatively easy. It consists of Angela, Black Panther, Blade, Crossbones, Gambit, Drax, and Rogue as a mini-boss with a couple of added extra nodes. There's nothing difficult on this path, and probably the easiest path overall to do. Second easiest path to do, and yeah, I won't even recommend any champions for this path in particular, because literally any champion works so long as you can defeat that domino, and that is about all it takes. Now, next path is Force of Will, Static Blast, and Typhoon. Now, Typhoon is a node that basically puts a time limit on you of opponent launching 10 special attacks. Once they do launch 10 special attacks, they will drain all your power, and you're going to take some damage from your health via power burn. It's important to note that that damage will not be enough to completely wipe you out, but typically in order to avoid this fun and interactive damage, you simply have to defeat the opponent by the time they throw 10 special attacks. So bringing in anything that is kind of like stacked enough, deals damage quickly enough, or on the other hand, power controls the opponents, and you're gonna have a relatively easy way to victory on this path as well. When it comes to encounters, Invisible Woman is arguably the trickier one here. Then we have Psylocke. Puncher 2099 is annoying block amount of damage, so power control champion there would work great as well. She-Hulk, Iron Patriot, Night Rusher, Deadpool, X-Force, nothing too tricky. And the final mini-boss has additional power focus and heavy hitter nodes, so nothing overly crazy as well. This is one of the easier paths as well. And as I mentioned, pretty much anything that hits hard enough to defeat opponents by the time they launch a 10 special attack is quite easy. And even if you don't defeat the opponent, you will not die from the power burn, especially if you make sure you are relatively low on power at the time they are throwing the 10th special attack. Now we're going to move on to the top 2 lanes, and the first one here on the right side is going to be Footloose. The rest of the nodes are kind of annoying. They don't really do too much. Enhance the ability accuracy of evade and auto block effects. As long as you can shut it down or prevent them from evading or auto blocking, that does not matter. Neither does Spry. And for this lane, you will want somebody that has a slow debuff or true strike or something of the sort to counter all of these evade effects and have an easier time. But again, this lane does not have limber, so you can just stick to parry and couple hits, or parry heavy style, and in that case you don't even realistically need the true strike or true accuracy. Now the opponents on this line are more annoying, obviously going in with the theme of auto block and evades. We have Medusa, Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, MODOK, Stealth Suit Spider-Man, Darkhawk, Nightcrawler, Iron Man, Infinity War, and Miles. Now Miles is the mini-boss. It doesn't have anything too special attached to him either. It's gassed. Again, as long as you prevent him from evading, you don't have anything to worry about that node. And Power Bond, you can't drain his power. Not a big deal at all. So this path isn't overly tricky so long as you come prepared. The defenders are a bit more annoying, but you should probably by now, if you are clearing 6.4, have at least some sort of access to these effects that counter these basic annoying mechanics like evade, auto block, so on and so forth. So once again, true strike, true accuracy, slow debuffs, or just play around them with your heavy attacks and or while these opponents are under stun effects. So nothing too crazy on this lane. Now the next lane is quite an interesting one, because nodes themselves here are not too tricky. Vitality Rush gives opponents boost if you start with a lower percentage than they do, so that's kind of annoying, but it's not a deal breaker. Then we have basically a power sting every time you gain a bar of power for 6 seconds. This can be kind of annoying, but it also can be quite helpful because once again, via willpower, you are able to heal up quite a bit of health. And I continuously will repeat saying this in every video. Willpower is one of the true MVPs of 6.4 because so many of the paths, so many of the lanes focuses on placing non-damaging debuffs on you. And you can just capitalize on that via willpower heal. And just like here in this situation as well, every time you fill a bar of power, you're going to gain a debuff for 6 seconds. So for 6 seconds, you're going to be able to easily access the willpower heal because it is in fact a debuff, not a passive debuff. And Static Blast, basically whenever opponent shoots their special attack, they remove half of your power. Now it is quite annoying, but this node combination in itself does not in any way, shape or form imply that you are forced to use special attacks. So my personal advice possibly could be just bring in champions that do not really require spamming special attacks as a primary use of damage, and you will have absolutely no problems. Or additionally, you can just play around it and use champions that do have some sort of extra power gain, like Sunspot, Hyperion, Ghost, so on and so forth. Play around the power sting and deal with it that way. It's important to note that Ghost and Hood Synergy does not bypass this power sting, so you can't do it that way, but you can still push opponents level 3 and tank them with Hood Synergy in here as well, so on and so forth. So the lane itself is not too bad. You can just, I don't know, bring in A-Gun and amp him up and all is going to be good. Problem is, however, the mini boss. This is one of the kind of like hidden annoying lane stopper mini bosses, and I know for a fact because it stopped me. First time I cleared the lane, I failed to look at this mini boss and I was forced to back out and come back in again, clear the entire lane because of this mini boss. And what makes him so difficult is the Thunderstruck. Basically, shock debuffs and passives deal 25% more damage to the defender, and they take 90% less damage from all sources unless they are inflicted with a shock debuff or passive. So you have to have a champion that can stack a lot of shocks on opponent. And I'm not talking a shock on a level 1 and stuff like that. You need to have a champion that has access to shocks easily and reliably, because otherwise obviously it's a King Groot, it continuously heals, plus it can shrug off the debuff, so you have to be extremely careful with timing, and this is a really annoying fight. Without a doubt, it's not as bad as 6.3 Acid Wash Mysterio, but it definitely is frustrating because yes, he will be able to shrug off a lot of your shock debuffs. He will be able to heal if you're not dealing enough damage, and it can be extremely long and painful experience. Now, the champion that I used was Sentinel. Sentinel did a really great job, so I amped him up first 100 analysis, and then just end up spamming a lot of heavy attacks, meanwhile throwing my level 2s while the shock is active from the heavy attack. And other champions that could potentially work extremely well might be Night Thrasher, because Night Thrasher has an easy access to shock debuff as well, but you have to be careful because every time you refresh those debuffs, if his Furies are active, he's going to be able to shrug them off. Now, probably Iron Man Infinity War could work, perhaps Sentinel. I have heard some people did this fight with Void and like 1000 hits, just being able to shut down the healing. And possibly Dr. Doom can work because he has shocks and medium attacks, so you will be able to keep shock on for a decent amount of time. But all in all, it is definitely a tricky fight, definitely one of the fights that you must be prepared for, and you must know that it is going to be waiting you at the end of the line, and regardless of which solution you look for it, because it is a really, really kind of like tricky and cheeky placement. And now we're going to be talking about the Crit Me With Your Best Shot node, Tunnel Vision, and Critical Setup. Now, Critical Setup is actually a helpful node intended to help you, basically saying when an attacker ends the combo with the same attack as they ended the previous combo with, the attack is guaranteed critical hit, which kind of works out perfect with the node, obviously, so long as you do, like, I don't know, medium light medium combos or medium light, because of the tunnel vision, because you need to alternate, you will be guaranteed landing some critical hits. So that effectively means that you can kind of use any champion, but it's going to be a frustrating time. Obviously, it's going to be much easier for you if you bring in Ghost, if you bring in Chorus, if you perhaps bring in Wasp, and then you're not going to have as bad of a time. But it is worth noting that there once again is an annoying Annihilus, so you do have to be prepared for the Annihilus. And the final mini boss is also quite annoying because he has terminal velocity node. Basically every time you strike him with a critical hit, he increases in power gain. So effectively within a couple of hits in the fight, he's going to have 300% increased power gain. So that's going to be an annoying way to deal with that. And my personal answer, if I'm not mistaken, was just using Ghost and tanking the level 3s. But obviously Corvus and Wasp and so on and so forth, many champions will be decent answers for these fights, but this last fight is going to be tricky pretty much no matter what you do, because you are forced to only deal damage while critical hits, and because of that opponent will have 300% power gain, which is extremely tricky thing to manage, and be aware of that. Might take you a revive or two, but other than that, there's nothing kind of like too complicated on this lane. And now the best for the last, and the place where some people probably will get pissed off at me for publicizing this information, whatever. But so we have here the special Connoisseur node, which is one of the kind of like more annoying new nodes added for 6.4. And the point being is because it's very specific node. There aren't that many champions that can access prowess debuff. And even when you do have access to prowess debuff, a lot of your damage meanwhile in between special attacks is kind of like nullified and compromised. And in addition, you have like Cornet and Calab back, but that isn't like the worst part, I guess. It's not the worst bit of these. It's just the special Connoisseur node makes it really tricky, even if you have like the right champions. Even like Emma Frost is like a perfect answer for this. And obviously we have to talk about Captain America Infinity War synergy with Rogue or Beast that enables all mutants to have prowess. So as long as you have Captain America Infinity War, you probably will have some decent options here. As I mentioned before, we have Emma Frost, I believe Gambit, but Gambit is a bad champion, don't use Gambit. But yes, it's an annoying node with very small specific set of counters, which is definitely frustrating. I hate these type of nodes. But there is one thing, intentional or unintentional, that I wanted to showcase in today's video, and that hopefully will help many of you. And that is the simple fact that Quake works. Special Connoisseur node or not, Quake does deliver a normal damage output, ignoring that node. So if you do not have Captain America Infinity War, oopsie, we're making some mistakes. I'm not gonna try to finish the full fight, but you can see that Quake's dealing her normal damage at this point, and there's nothing wrong with that. And just so happens that the matchups on the path are extremely favorable for Quake as well, because you have like Ebony Maw and quite a few other annoying fights, which are definitely made a lot easier by Quake. So Quake is kind of like a secret weapon, at least for the time being. And if you do not have these mutant champions that have prowess buff active, then Quake is definitely a viable option to just blitz through this path without too much of an opposition. So we can see here that yes, Quake does work, at least currently. Once again, I do not know whether it's intended or not, whether it's a bug or not, but either way, it would come to light eventually, and people are talking about it already in line rooms, so on and so forth. So I figured I might as well put it out there and let as many people try and clear that lane with Quake in case you do not have any other alternatives. Quick note that I tried to use myself, partially because of the Emma Frost synergy, and partially because I love Colossus, is going to be, yes, Colossus. With Emma Frost, he gains a lot more power. So once you add in Captain America Infinity War and the mutant synergy with, let's say, Beast at this point, then Colossus is a fantastic option, because even if you have the prowess buff, you only deal damage with your special attacks. However, thanks to Emma Frost synergy, Colossus gains a massive increase in his power gain the more armor ups he gets, so he's able to spam many more special attacks. And if you combine that with like a mutant power boost, which you can buy with your loyalty, you will have relatively easier time blitzing through this node. So that's going to be another suggestion. Definitely do not forget to use the mutant power boost. They will help you quite a bit by allowing you to spam more special attacks with Emma or Colossus or whoever else you're using gold pool for all I care. But that definitely does make the fight a lot easier and quicker. But that will pretty much do for a breakdown of 6.42. Hopefully this has helped you. We have only left the boss to discuss, and the boss is Thor Ragnarok with combo shield, aspect of death, prove yourself, unblockable special attacks, and power efficiency. And all in all, I definitely must say that this is kind of like the universally most friendly boss to your roster, because you can literally use any champion against this guy. Power control champions will definitely help you a bit more, because obviously Thor Ragnarok gains quite a bit of power, and with power efficiency he's going to be spamming special attacks like crazy. So I don't know, Magic or any other power control champions will do great, but realistically you can just bring in any champion in whatsoever. Be careful with your combo meters. Whenever you push him past 20 hit mark, make sure that you have special attack ready. And yeah, at that point pretty much any champion is capable of dealing with this fight. It's an annoying fight. It involves baiting out a lot of special attacks and being very careful not to get hit after them or during them. But other than that, it's a relatively roster friendly fight where you can use pretty much any champion. So that is pretty much 642 in short. Nothing overly crazy there. I think none of the lanes are huge pains in the bottom. You need to be careful of that King Groot mini boss for sure, and you need to have your answer ready for special Connoisseur nodes. The rest of the lanes will be relatively easily completable with the more popular kind of like options that all the people are using in their rosters already. And all that being said, I hope this video has helped you, and I hope this video will help a whole bunch of you when you are going for your exploration of 6.4. If there are any other unanswered questions, do leave them in my comment section below. I will try my best to provide answers to them. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did find it helpful, if you think somebody of your friends, alliance or some of your friends might use it, definitely do not hesitate to share it in your line groups, in your alliance chat, or just forward it to your friends, so on and so forth. It helps me out, and hopefully it can help them out as well. All of that said and done, hit that like button, hit that sub button, and I'm going to catch you guys soon. See ya.